skates a flash, the home team trails behind. But they grab the puck and go bursting up, and they're down across the line. They storm the crease like bumblebees, they travel like a burning flame. We see them slide the puck inside, it's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
Fern. They were golfing, Fern.
Period. Last game in the playoffs, too. Oh, take me where the hockey players face off down the rink, and the Stanley Cup is all filled up for the champs who win the drink. Now the final flick of a hockey stick and a one gigantic scream. The puck is in. The
DJ
home
Herman
team wins the good old hockey game.
Okay, I give you guys a song every week. I might have to add some stories to the song. I know you've all been building a library of music that I've been giving you. Today's an easy pick. It's obviously the hockey song. We have a great Canadian on today, a Hall of Famer, general manager, president of Hockey Ops from Vernon, BC, who's never done an Insta Live before. So behind the scenes, you're not seeing what's going on right now, but everyone is kind of working their magic trying to get Ken Holland on. And by the way, it's there's normally I go on at the start and I give like all these stats of people and I'm talking about their history but when you have an opportunity to get a general manager on and one as great as Ken Holland, you kind of quit the moment you have a second. So they're actually going under his wife's account. So I see that she joined, and the moment she actually jumps on, we're going to come on. So you have to follow me. You follow me, sorry, you just got to ask for an invite. And it's, again, during all the craziness that's going on, he's taking a couple minutes out of his day to learn what an Insta Live is and actually do one. I wonder if I end up in his Hall of Fame speech for this. You know, he's probably going to talk of a lot of firsts that he's done. You know, he's, first time as general manager, first time as a scout, first time as a goalie in the National Hockey League, drafted by the Leafs. All these great moments that he's had. Where does an Insta Live with PJ Stock fit on this? It's gonna be pretty interesting. I wonder if I'm in his speech. I'm gonna try going the other way, and as I see them following, I'm gonna try and go back. And there's Noah Dial. Thanks, Noah, for say hi to your dad, Joel. I'm gonna see if I can find a way to get her to come on here. Okay, so let's give me a quick second. And let's see if we could try it this way. Again, thank you. First off, there we go. I am sending the Hollands an invite. And this is what you do. This is what an Insta Live is live with Hall of Fame general manager. I'm hoping he comes on, because if not, you guys are going to hear stories about me for the next, I don't know, hour, 2 hours. I didn't really tell him that I have a drink during the show. Colin John just asked, hey, Stalker, was it tough to be a Bruin and a Hab? It wasn't tough to be a Bruin. We were the number one team in the East. When I was playing for the Habs, I got signed. I just finished a couple years in New York, up and down. And when I was unrestricted free agent, I became, by the way, Ken Holland's going to hear about this later for not signing me with the Wings, because, well, they would have had, instead of having 4 cups, he probably would have had 5. But, Sin Holland, hello, I'm trying to pull you on. You got to go to the bottom of your screen, Mrs. Holland, where the circle faces are, and I think you have to press that and come on. So, if not, I'll bring you back on again. But we're here about signing with the Montreal Canadiens before I go on to the Bruins quickly. So I had an opportunity of signing with a couple teams. I took less money to sign in Montreal because it was, by the way, money back then, and when you're a guy that scores a goal a year, the money isn't really a crazy number. But it was a couple bucks more to actually go in Buffalo. And I signed with Montreal, and it just wasn't, it was a tough year. It was a tough year where we had so many injuries. Game 2, we lose Saka Koivu. Brian Savage gets hurt. Eric Weinert's on defense. Sheldon Surrey hurts his wrist again. It was a real tough year. I got traded that year halfway through Philly, and then I moved to Boston, and kind of the rest is history. And McMahon wants to hear about my playoff goal. this is professional. This is like juggling. If we were right now at the circus, when guys are throwing balls up, you're really looking at it, but really the guy's doing nothing. He's just throwing a ball up, but he does all the time. This is what I talk. So now I have to talk as we're waiting for Mrs. Holland to come back on. And hi, Red Sweet Turbo. I invited go live with. I'm gonna try it one more time. Cindy Holland. I'm gonna add again. You, and now you got to go to the bottom, and she declined. She declined again. So I'm gonna keep telling stories. So my goal. Someone just asked about my goal against the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. I don't want to bring it up, but I mean, this is the one thing that bothers me about totals in all professional sports. They only count the regular season stats. Oh, here he comes. Hall of Fame hockey person, Hall of Fame family, the Hollands, and she's coming on right now. We're going to see how this works. But his first Insta Live, and very excited to have the Hollands on. I think the whole family might be there right now, as I have friends texting back and forth going on about can they come on, can they not come on. They're waiting for an invite. Anyways, let me just give you a quick note on Ken Holland. So I was doing all this research behind the scenes about, when I had Eric Lindros on. I know Eric. I got an opportunity to do a bunch of events with Eric, John LeClaire, Dougie Gilmore, and it's super cool to get to know these guys the way the people like yourselves. The great Nat Spooner is on, figure skating champ. Okay, I think we got them coming in now at the bottom. Requests. Keep requesting, but they're not coming on. To the Holland's defense, I had a great discussion with him today about players and social media, and whether or not he's on it and what he thinks about it. So, you get a haircut, Nat Spooner. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey! Okay.
I can't believe it. Okay.
Hey,
I've been here with my daughter and my wife for since 5 o'clock, PJ. So it's the world of technology.
I know. We talked about it earlier. Actually, we'll get to that after. By the way, Mrs. Holland, thank you very much for this. I know we're using her. Are we using her phone?
We are. We're using Cindy's phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for this, and of course, thank you so much for doing this. I know you're in the craziness right now in the world right now of hockey, and you guys are actually sit back in your chair after.
I'm gonna. Yeah. I'm just adjusting the volume. Yeah.
Yeah. After 20 minutes of trying to get on, do you have a chair that you sit in to think?
That's a good question. I like to be in my office, where I've got my computer and TV screen, and just sort of get away and be private and get on my own to kind of let my mind wander.
Is it at home or is it at the rink?
At home. Yeah, at home. Whatever, we were in Detroit, whatever house we had, or in Vernon, BC is our summer house. I've always got my own little office there where I go to get away. Now,
I have 4 kids, a wife, 2 dogs, and I like to get away too. So when I get away, but is it a glass of wine you have? Is it a vodka that you have? Is it beer? I mean,
well, I'm a Coors Light guy.
My
wife Cindy likes wine. Once every summer we go to Burrowing Owl and vineyards down in Oliver Asuyas, and she's happy because I drink Coors Light, and there's not much beer down there, so I'm the designated driver, and we go from vineyard to vineyard. So my wife's wine, I'm Coors Light.
Well, I owe her some wine for this, so thanks a ton for that. And thanks a ton. I know it's a crazy time. Funny story. We'll kind of jump to this right now. We'll kind of go backwards after. But we were talking today about the world that we're in. You're like a year or 2 older than me, and like there was no Twitter, TikTok, Insta when you were around, and you're not on anything. So it's hard to hunt you down. And your reasoning for not being on it is what?
Well, PJ and I talked earlier today. I'm 64 years old. I didn't grow up in the social media world. People around me are in the social media world, so I can get access to. When I was in Detroit, my key people were social media. Now in Edmonton, my key people are social media. I don't know. I'm just comfortable being in my own little world. I can get the information that I need to get quickly, because people around me are keeping me posted. I don't feel any need to go on and read, I guess, other information that's out there. I'm sort of happy, I guess, in my own little world.
Do you read do you have someone checking your players' stuff?
Yeah, somebody in our organization would check our player stuff, but and then they'll bring me in if I need to be brought in.
So at the combine, for people that aren't all sure, they bring the top draft picks that are listening, obviously. They bring the top draft picks, they put them through physicals and stuff, and they also do questionnaires. Have you ever sat down with a player and judged him? Like, do you guys ever check a player's history on social media prior to sitting down with him?
Well, my chief scout, Tyler Wright, he's been my chief scout for a long time, and before that I had Joe McDonnell and Jim Nill. You know, I guess when they were in Detroit, probably it wasn't as big as it is today. So the last 8 years I've had Tyler Wright as my chief scout. That certainly that's part of his information gathering is checking into get whatever information he can gather about those players. Have
you ever changed your opinion on a player going into draft because of how they are on social media?
Not really, PJ. What I find today's young players are very well educated. More and more all the time, more and more information. The agents that they've got, they also, prior to their draft year, for the year or two before, I think they go to they have their own combines per se, where they walk through all this stuff. So they're very educated and very, very polished.
Do you feel I'm educating you today?
Pardon me?
Do you feel I'm educating you in the world of Instagram today?
Yeah, you sure are. Yeah. You're bringing in me enough.
I can just see you this year. I can just, when you guys all get back and you have to do your first interview after you guys win the first round and be like, hey, we'd like to, and you're like, no. Insta live, or you guys want a TikTok.
PJ took me there. Took me to a new world.
How you been doing during all this? How you been, let's go through quarantine. How's the family been? What have you guys been doing to keep busy?
Well, we obviously March 12th, we got the word that the NHL was shutting down. I was obviously in Edmonton. We played Winnipeg home that night. Our daughter Rachel and her husband Kevin and their two boys who were 2 and 6 months were in Edmonton. They were going to watch the game on the Wednesday against Winnipeg and Friday, and then obviously we got the word on the Thursday that that we're going to have a NHL pause. We stayed in Edmonton for about a week, and then about a week later, as it started to become apparent that this was going to be a longer pause, our daughter went back to Calgary, and Cindy and I jumped in a car and drove 9 hours to our house in Vernon, BC. We just felt that it would be a little safer out there. We live in a condo here, and to go on an elevator, we just felt that it was going to be safer out in Vernon, British Columbia. So we were out there for a couple of months, and about a couple of weeks ago, we headed here out to Alberta. So been with our daughter, Rachel did come out again to Vernon after quarantining for a while and spent some time with us. So we got some family time, and just really been waiting for the news that's come this week that they found a solution to a new CBA and working our way towards coming back next week to training camp.
One of the fun things that I do is I try and find dirt on people. I try and get some news on people, and you're good. Like, I'm telling you, you're good. It's been really, really hard to get some stuff on you, but some of the stuff, it's been nothing that a true compliment to yourself is there's not anyone that's had a word to say at all. So bad. It's nothing but it's too good. It's almost too good. But some of the funny stuff that come out is one of the things is you're a big ping pong player. So you and the missus play ping pong during quarantine, or?
No, I played a lot of ping pong when I was in, say, grade 8 to grade 11. Played ping pong before school, played ping pong at lunch, played ping pong after school. I was in the ping pong club, and we used to go once a week.
Sorry. I don't think I've ever heard this before. Were you in a ping pong club?
Ping pong club in Vernon, BC. Yeah, when I was in grade 8 to grade 11, it was at this. Well, we might have created the club. There was about 10 or 12 of us. We had our own ping pong club, and we would play amongst one another. And then, about once a week, we go to somebody's house, and all of us we play games. We play little tournaments. And then I remember going to the. There was some kind of being in Vernon, BC. We went to a couple of. I think through the boys club or the YMCA, we went to a couple little tournaments, a bunch of us. So played a lot of ping pong for about 3 or 4 years through high school.
Did you have like a walkout song like a wrestler? Did you have any or did you wear like an intimidating T-shirt like with the sleeve rolled up or anything? None of that. I'm all junk. No speed. It's all chips and chase and spins and little tricks to try to gain a point. But I love playing ping pong. If you can find somebody of a similar ability, it's a wonderful sport. It's back and forth. I like tennis. I played tennis. I think ping pong turned me into tennis when I was. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I played a lot of tennis. Golf and tennis was playing hockey in the winter, and in the summertime I played baseball when I was younger, and then as I started to fall away from baseball, it became ping pong and turned into tennis and golf. So funny, more news I got on the golf front. I hear you and some of the general managers get together and play some golf.
Yeah, well, we do. I love golf. Golf is my getaway besides family. It's my getaway from hockey. What I like about golf is it allows me to compete. In my job, in my profession as a general manager, I compete obviously with my brains and golf. But I'm in golf. I'm actually in the game. No matter how old you play, you can compete. I love the handicap system. If somebody's a 16 and somebody's a 2, they can have a good match. You get 14 shots and away you go. I like to be on the 16th, 17th hole you got to make a swing. You got to make a shot to win a match. I like to compete, and golf is sort of one of my outlets to compete and to get away from the pressures that we are all under on a day-to-day basis.
Who's your favorite golfer?
Was Tiger Woods for probably Tiger. Jack Nicklaus. I was a big Jack Nicklaus fan.
Sure.
Growing up, I was a huge Jack Nicklaus fan, and then I certainly admired Tiger Woods' ability on a week-to-week basis in his prime to be in the hunt. How difficult it is on a week-to-week basis in any sport, day-to-day, game-to-game basis to be at the top and stay to the top. I certainly admired that about him.
When we play with buddies, we play different games, snake and whatever. We always play for $1, $2, $5. You general managers ever get carried away and put players on the line?
No.
Hypothetically, you're playing Bergevin, and it's what about if I get the birdie? I take Draisaitl, and you're like, well, I'll take Price, and doesn't go that way.
I played golf with Bergie. Bergie and I were together on the Canadian World Cup management team 2 years ago in Toronto. So at Bergie and I, Bob Murray and Doug Armstrong. So we had would usually be Army and Bob Murray against Bergie and I for that couple of weeks. We must have played 6-8 times. So we had some good matches.
What'd be a score for you? What'd be a good golf score for you?
In the 70s. I'm about a 7 handicap. So if I can shoot, I like to play. The guys I play by, we like to play 6,800 to 7,000 yards near the back of some courses. Not all the way back. I'm not going past 7,000 yards. So if I can shoot in the 70s, I'm happy. 76, 77, 78. I'm thrilled with that. Anything around 80 to 82 is sort of my comfort zone, and anything you get higher than that, I go home not very happy.
I know you have a couple son-in-laws. Do you like just spanking them on the golf course? Is that
they're just getting going. My one son-in-law in Montreal, Derek McCann, he was out in BC last year. I've got a tournament the third week in July, the same weekend as the British Open. get about 40 to 50 guys together, and we have a draw for two-man teams. Derek's been in there a couple of years. I think he finished second a couple of years ago. And now my other son-in-law that lives in Calgary, Kevin, who's married to our daughter Rachel, he's been kind of getting into with our golf group. So it's good. I'm getting a couple of my son-in-laws.
Okay, listen, hold on. They're playing, but I know you played. You've done, like, I was going through all your lists, 22 years as a GM, 4 as an assistant, 5 as a scout, director of scouting, 5 as an area scout, a couple of years with Edmonton. This is all after you played. So I know you can talk smack because you've dealt with everybody and you've been around the hockey world forever. Do you like to put them in their place every now and then?
All the time. Not every now and then. Every game. But you know what? They're hitting the ball 25 yards by me, so it's getting harder and harder to talk smack. But the good news is they're a little shaky around the greens and with the putting. So it's drive for show and putt for dough. So so far they're just, it's all about the long drives. But they love the game, and I enjoy being out there on the course with them.
You don't have to give them compliments. Yeah, I know, Darren. You don't have to give them. Okay, let's go. Let's just see where we are today. You're back in the rinks. Do you think this day would come?
Well, I knew it was going to come. I just didn't know when it was going to come. Obviously, it was a major unknown. It's still an unknown today. I mean, you just hoped and believed that at some point in time, the scientists and everybody, we would do all the things that we got to do to try to get under control. I think we've done a pretty good job in Canada. Certainly, there's way more people in the United States, and they've had some hot spots there over the last 3 or 4 months. But I'm excited that we're on the verge of getting into training camp next week. Next Monday, it appears to be July 13th, and around August the 1st, we're going to have some games. So I'm getting excited.
Hockey Fight just jumped on. Hockey Hall of Famer talking about you. We'll get to that in a bit, but let's stick with the now right now. And so, like, what's a day like for you? Like, we spoke today, you were at the rink. Like,
yep.
Are you like social distance? Like, we have a hard time because we come from the hockey world where we almost think that we're, we can take this, we can do this, but it's a different time.
Well, right now, when I go over to the rink, I cannot get into the locker room. That's where the players are in there. It's the support staff and the player access people that are helping our players get ready for next week. I can go up to my office, and really there's not many people up there. There's 3 or 4. Keith Gretzky comes up there, Bill Scott, Bob Nicholson, myself basically, and we're each in our own offices, and then get together and chat a little bit at social distance length, and then go down into I had a couple of talks. Went down and talked with Dave Tippett today. Certainly, we're talking about some of the things about our team and some ideas. I know our coaching staff all just got in here over the last few days, so they're starting to have meetings to prepare so that we're ready to hit the ground running next when the first day of training camp comes. So it's some planning still. Obviously, PJ, we're still waiting for for this to get ratified, to get the CBA to get our hands on it and see all the transition rules and everything that goes with it. We've obviously got some ideas about what's going on. So I'm just sort of still in a holding pattern, but just preparing to making sure our players are safe, making sure we got a safe environment, we're abiding by the rules, and at the same time that from the business side, from the coaching side, that when we get all our players together for training camp, we're ready to go.
Good friend Kathy Broderick from Hockey Night in Canada is asking, have you been in touch with any of your players? Or do you get in touch with, how does the trickle-down effect work for during this whole time?
I've talked to, during the pandemic, we had once every month I had a conference call with our entire team. I think, the 1st of May, then we went to, I think maybe 15th of May, 1st of June, 15th of June, 1st of July, as we were gathering information. So I talked to them as a group on a better, different technology, PJ, and I seem to figure that one out quicker than this Instagram. But
no, this is it. You nailed it now. You're golden. This is it.
Yeah. And then I did talk to 3 or 4 of our players one-on-one. Dave Tippett has talked to a number of them regularly, so I think I'm up to speed on what sort of the mindset of our players is.
What you said something there a few minutes ago about you were saying that you're not allowed in the room. You actually the president of
Well, right now
hockey,
through phase two, yeah.
right. So, but my question is, I know there's going to be a certain number of people that are going to be allowed involved in the bubble.
Yes.
Are you going to put yourself in that bubble, or can you do your job from outside the bubble?
No, I'm going to go in the bubble. We're allowed to have 52 people. We just got that information here in the last week or 10 days ago. And we 31 players, and I'm going to be I want to be in the bubble. I want to be there on an everyday basis, so they've got access to our players and our coaching staff in the bubble.
I don't want to keep you on forever. I don't want to talk a lot about Detroit. I want to talk about a little bit more of Edmonton, but I want to just go back a little because we kind of jumped around a little bit. And you started off your role, 22 years GM, I mentioned it, 4 assistant GM, 5 director of scouting, 5 scouting as an area scout. And so, again, after your hockey career, but you were a scout a while ago, we'll say that. And how now, as you're the guy on top, how has scouting changed? And how do you take the information from the scouts today?
Well, it's way more in depth today. When I started in 1985 as a Western Scout, it was Neil Smith, the chief scout, myself, might be Billy Day in the U.S., one guy in Europe, might have been about five. The scouts today are 12 to 15. So scouts are 2 to 3 times the size that they were. But we've got four people in Europe. Used to have one person in Europe, so there's more people at more games. I'll give you an example. In 1989, I remember Neil Smith saying to me that Christer Rockstrom, our European scout, had seen the Swedish defenseman playing in the Division I league, and we were going to tuck him away, and we ended up picking him in the third round, Nick Lidstrom. Well, today, nobody really went into Division I. You scouted the tournaments and maybe the odd top teams. Well, today there's scouts all over the place, so there's no surprises. Everybody knows about everybody, and then I think way more in depth and getting to gathering information. We gathered some information, but there's way more information gathering today than there was when I started.
When you're talking about Neil Smith, is that the Neil Smith that worked with the New York Rangers after? Or
yeah. Neil was the head scout, and I was his Western scout.
Well, thank you to you, because Neil Smith brought me out of university to from the St. Francis Xavier to go play for the Rangers. So
did he? Neil signed you to your first contract?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I was gonna blame you for your scouting, but actually you might have done a good job there, because you actually just you got Neil in it. Neil.
Too bad Neil still wasn't Detroit. You could have been a Red Wing. We could have had you in a Red Wing uniform for a few years.
Not enough money. You guys were paying this guy.
The Rangers do pay. They paid more at that back then than the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Now there's a cap. Now we're all on the same level playing field. But
okay, the cap just you just brought it up. But I had this whole way we were gonna go, but we're just bouncing around. But the caps, they just solidified the cap. The cap can't move. Again, for people that are listening, a whole bunch of news came out just yesterday. 4 years extension, hockey's going to move forward. One of the things is that the cap is going to move. It was supposed to actually go up. It's actually going to kind of stay where it is. And for a team like a young team that has a lot of offensive superstars like yourself, a Toronto, a Boston, a Tampa, everyone was hoping for that cap to leap a little or movement. How does this affect you?
Well, I mean, we went to the March general manager meetings, PJ, just early March, and Gary Bettman told us at that time he thought the cap was going to go somewhere between 84 and 88, depending on the percentage that the union was going to, so you're looking at an 81.5 cap going up at least $2.5 million, and maybe as much as $5-6 million more. So certainly at 81.5, we're going to have the same flat cap or number next year as we did this year. Certainly gets tighter. You got to have to make harder decisions. but it's the same for everybody. You know, it's a level playing field, and you know, it's you know, you get the information and you deal with it and you make the decisions that you got to make within the rules. So certainly it's going to be tight, but it's tight for many teams.
I like what you just said, within the rules. So I've never actually asked this to anyone else before, but there has been stuff over the last so many years where, you know, you could, I guess, trade for a player that's injured, or you could kind of like do whatever you possibly can to get to the cap, and move things around, cap relief, teams to get to the floor. How does, you know, I'm kind of putting you in a position here for a second. How does another general manager feel when another general manager is finding a way to circumvent the cap?
Well, I don't know if you know, you can't circumvent it. So obviously, you know, you probably stretch the rules to the limit, but you got to be within the rules. So, you know, we traded Pavel Datsyuk. I think you're talking. We traded Pavel Datsyuk in Detroit 3-4 years ago to Arizona. Because he decided he was going to go to Russia, and he didn't want to honor the last year of his contract. And at the end of the day, Arizona, you know, they got moved up into the first round. We took a player in return, and it was a deal that worked for Arizona. They took Jeff Chikrin we had the 16th pick. They took the 20th pick, so they were happy to get moved up. They got the 16th pick. We took the 20th pick. We got an extra second-round pick, which turned out to be Phil Hronik, who's a good young player for the Detroit Red Wings. So it was a deal that worked for both teams. So I think, you know, ultimately the deal has to work for both teams. If it only works for one team, you're not gonna have a deal. So you got to figure out what's important to each team, and ultimately that's the only way you're going to find a way to get a trade done.
Former player, scout, general manager, president of Hockey Ops, Hall of Famer. You have to pick a player in that Detroit organization. Let's not do Edmonton right now, so I can go back and you can easily pick one, but not offending any players on your own roster today, because Connor would be an easy answer. But if you go back and look at, you've had some amazing players during that time. And you mentioned the name Pavel Datsyuk, which for me was my time, one of my favorite players to watch, just because I have trouble crossing over both ways, and he can do so many things. And when I started in the league, you guys had Lidstrom, Yzerman, Shanahan, my buddy Marty Lapointe was there. Your team was just like, your fourth line was like Maltby and
Draper,
McCarty. It was, your fourth line was like our first line, and it was like so fun to watch from the bench until I got on the ice and had to play against. Because like the moment I think Babcock was coaching at the time, and of course our fourth line, the coach finally has to put us on the ice. And I don't understand this, but coaches always put the three worst players on the ice at the same time with the two worst defensemen. So let's put the 5 worst players on the ice at the same time, and then in another team's rink. So then Babcock looks at us and he starts salivating. And he'd put on like Yzerman, Fedorov, Shanahan, Lidstrom, Rafalski. And my coach would be screaming like, get off the ice. Change. But I just named some names, but you've been there for 30 plus years. Favorite player in that entire time in Detroit, or most magical?
Well, I got a bunch of favorite players. It's hard. I've had so many good. You know, first off, I would say to you, you mentioned Mike Babcock. I think Scotty. My first coach was Scotty Bowman. He was the master of line matchups, and you know, just probably the greatest coach in the history of our sport, hockey. And I think his strength was the ability during a game to find mismatches and what players were going good and what players were going that night, and getting them out on the ice more. But from a player standpoint, so obviously Steve Yzerman and Nick Lidstrom. You know, the Russian 5, you got Fedorov and Konstantinov, how great they were, and you talked about the grind line, how important they were to the success of the Detroit Red Wings, and Marty Lapointe and McCarty and Holmstrom and Draper and Maltby. There was a number of people that were on that grind line, and then as Father Time, we had Shanahan, and then made the deal. You had Chelios, and certainly as we start to talk Hasek, and then we went to. You know, as Father Time banged away, and then our Jim Nail, Håkan Andersson, and Joe McDonnell found players like Zetterberg and Datsuk and Cronwall and Johan Franzen. That was really incredible work done by those guys in scouting and finding players for the Red Wings in the later rounds. It really allowed us to kind of make the playoffs 25 years in a row and go from Yzerman and Fedorov to Zetterberg and Datsuk, and Lidstrom was probably the one constant from the one generation to the next generation.
Okay, names. I mean, if you're into that winning type of thing. One of the things that you mentioned, guys, this is always a kind of I'm do Montreal. I work for RDS. What used to be on Hockey Night, and I do radio as well. And one of the things that I always talk about is I give so many compliments, as you just did, to your scouting staff for finding those depth people, right? Those guys. Sorry, not those depth people. Those people that you found in the later rounds. My question is to you. How do you feel when you miss up the first two or three rounds? Yeah, those. Zetterberg I think was 5.
6, 7. I think Z was 7. Pav and Z were 6 and 7. I can't remember which years.
But you had 5 rounds before both, or 6.
Yeah,
so I know they're diamonds in a rough, and they're awesome, and we could tap our. But we missed the 6. Well, we didn't really miss. You've always had that era was unbelievable. But you didn't have 6 Datsuks before that. So how does that work in a meeting?
Well, I think that's a great question.
That's why I have an Insta Live.
It's not, we're trying to predict an 18-year-old's future, and we're trying to. I had a hard time. I have 4 kids. I had a hard time predicting they lived in the basement or just down the hall, and I had a hard time predicting their future. And I'm trying to predict, somebody else's 18-year-old's son's future. So it's not an exact science. So it doesn't matter where you get them in the draft. Certainly the teams, if you're going to be good, those teams that are good, they draft good. They find players up and down the draft, throughout the draft. I come here to Edmonton, and the job that they did, you look at Jones about 4 or 5 years ago in Rowan's 4, 5, and 6. They got Ethan Bear, Caleb Jones, and another player. All 3 players are playing in the National Hockey League. So you got to find players deeper in the draft. That's what our scouts did for me in Detroit for many years, and it was one of the key reasons why we were able to kind of continue to be a playoff team. Because obviously the system is designed for you should be good for a period of time, and then you start to drop off, and the teams that are picking higher are coming up. And the only way you can beat that is through the draft. There's a salary cap. We can all, there was a time prior to 05 in Detroit when you were with the Rangers, Flyers, Detroit, Dallas, Colorado, Toronto. There was about 8 teams that spent more than the other teams. Well, those days are over. Now it's there's a floor and a ceiling, so it's a level playing field.
2-part question. One, you watched the movie Moneyball?
Yes.
Love it. I love the movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes is when Jonah Hill is the assistant to Billy Beane.
Yep.
And Jonah Hill gets asked from Brad Pitt, who was the first Billy Beane, who was a first-round draft pick, and he says to him, when sitting around, would you have drafted me? And Jonah Hill says no. Yourself, who was an agent, as a scout for so many years, then a general manager, you went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Would you have drafted yourself today?
No. No, but that's why I retired at 29. I mean, the 5 foot 7.5 goalies weren't a hot commodity. At 29 years of age, weren't a hot commodity. That's why I had to get into scouting.
I didn't want to bring up the size because, again, going through all this, I thought you were taller. But
5'8". I'm actually 5'7", almost 5'8".
5'8", 160. You're giving Darren Pang a run for his money. I mean, what is there a limit now to what you draft to go? I was speaking to I'm forgetting his name, general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. I forget, about 10 years ago. He says I'm not drafting under 6'2" anymore, a goalie. Like that's what kind of. Is there a height for yourself now that you almost?
Well, I think yes. I think for every rule there's an exception. But I would say to you that there's very few goalies drafted now under 6 feet tall. It's got to start with a 6 to 6'5", somewhere in there, 6'2" to 6'4". I think that's sort of probably the sweet spot. If you looked at the size of most goalies in the National Hockey League today, it's because of the size of the forwards going to the net. You got big wingers going to the net. They take up space, and you got to be able to look over them and around them. And I remember we had a reunion, I think about 2012 or something, the 1997 Red Wing Stanley Cup team, and Mike Vernon won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Sure. Yeah.
And I said and Vernie and I played against each other in the minors. And I was his first year, I think, in the American League in Moncton I was near the end of my American League career. So I've known Vernie going way back. And I cracked a joke to Vernie. I said, Vernie, if we drafted you now, I said, I'd send you straight to Toledo. I wouldn't even go down there and watch you. I mean, Vernie's 5'8". We don't draft. We send 5'8" goalies down to Toledo, the East Coast League. So he turned our franchise around, won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and we won our first Stanley Cup in 42 years. And Vernie was a big part of it. But at 5'8", I don't even know if there's barely a 5'8" goalie in the National Hockey League today. So that's the game's evolved. The goaltenders are bigger. I remember when I started scouting in 1985. There wasn't a lot of players drafted over, say, 6'2". There especially lots of players 6'1", 5'11". Well, now it's 6'1", 6'2" to 6'3". They're bigger. They're bigger athletes. But some smaller athletes can be smaller players. I like the rules change that come out of 2005 when we had the work stoppage. The game is towards skill and speed, and there's lots of really good smallish players in the NHL. So it gives smaller players a chance. You need different dimensions to build a team.
Yeah, I know why you like all the new rules. You have the fastest player in the world on your team. Yeah, of course you like the new rules. No hooking, holding. Hey, McDavid, you can get a speeding ticket every second.
He's unbelievable to watch. I certainly feel very fortunate to be a GM with him and Leon Draisaitl, two great young players, 23 and 24 years age. They're just slowly coming into their prime of their career. So feel very fortunate.
So you come over from Detroit to Edmonton, and they haven't had a ton of success here in a little bit, but you come over and you want to turn this thing around. And one of the most important things is that relationship with those star players. How did you build that rapport with McDavid?
Well, I think I think the most important, and PJ, you played is I think the most important this decision as a coach, as a manager, is your coach. Your coach is in the locker room every day. He sets the standards. He's making the decisions. I've been fortunate to have obviously to work with some tremendous coaches in Detroit, and then so as I was going through the process, you've talked about young superstars. I felt it was important to bring a veteran coach in. Went through the process and made a decision to hire Dave Tippett. Talked to a lot of people. Doug Armstrong had him in, and it was with Tip in Dallas. Doug and I are very, very close, and I talked to Doug a lot about Dave Tippett. And Dave has been a real key player in getting our team to compete on an every night basis, and building relationships with our star players, with all our players. I like the way that our team evolved over the course of the first 71 games, and we competed on an every night basis. And I think it started right from day one of training camp of what Dave Tippett and his coaching staff demanded out of our players or asked of our players, and our players responded and totally bought in.
I know you have like this window of we talked about a general manager's 5-year plan. Obviously, you're taking over a team that is struggling. That's why the general manager just got let go. The draft picks aren't your draft pick. The players aren't your players. So obviously it takes a few years to get to where you want to go. And it's kind of a 5-year plan is kind of what you think of. But hypothetically, if this was a 5-year plan, and maybe you're a little accelerated your process, but where do you feel you are right now? You're already at 5th in the West. If it starts today, how do you feel, like, considering where they were, 7 coaches in like 10 years, 5 first-round picks, and in 10 years, because obviously they're not finishing all that high. So where you started and where you are, I know it's a little bit like, it's kind of like that, but I know, and there's a lot more because you want to put what you want in there. How do you feel where you are in that 5-year process, or 7-year, or however you do it?
Well, I think, personally, I mean, I'm not, other people outside can evaluate. I think personally, I feel we made real good progress this year. I think that, a lot of it was based upon younger players. Ethan Bear fitting into our top 4. Kara Yamamoto coming up at Christmas time and giving us one more top 6 forward, and it allowed us to allow Tip to break up Connor and Leon. I think for the first 20 games, 25 games, we had them together, and we weren't getting enough offense from the bottom part of our roster. Well, now we're allowed. We can build 2 lines, and Yamamoto, the addition of Yamamoto to Nugent Hopkins and Cassian and James Neal has given us some more depth. And at the deadline, we went out and we acquired Athanasiou and Tyler Ennis. We were trying to get 3 lines deeper, so that when you get into a playoff series, and PJ, you've been in there, the other team's doing everything they can to shut your best players down. If they figure out, your best players are still going to produce, but some nights you got to find ways to win games when your best players are shut down. You need that depth up and down the roster. And then you talk about the Detroit days. That's what the grind line did for us. They pitched in with some big goals on some nights when our best players were shut down. So I think that we were second in our division. We were by percentage points 5th in the Western Conference. Right. So if you're gonna go on, to me you got to build a team that can consistently make the playoffs. It's a learning process. You need multiple opportunities. And you'll hear about if you can win 2 or 3 cups in your career, you've won a ton of cups. Like it's so hard to win 1 cup. So in order to win a cup, you need multiple opportunities. What is multiple opportunities? You got to make the playoffs. You got to make the playoffs. You got to get in, and then you need luck. Good luck with health. Sometimes you need the right matchup. You need some good luck, some bounces. You need your best players to play their best, and sometimes the other team's best players play their best, and you get eliminated. That's why you need multiple opportunities. So, Tip and I talked about we got to build a culture, build a program where we can compete for a playoff spot and feel that if we are playing at our best, that we can compete for one of the top 8 seeds in the Western Conference. So whether you're the 1st seed or the 8th seed, I don't think it matters. You've seen what's happened in the playoffs the last few years. You just got to get in, and then you got to be at the top of your game, and anything can happen.
Health is always one of those things that you can throw in there too. It's just
health, goaltending are 2 key things in a playoff series. Is your best players need to go out there on an every night basis. Certainly, you need that depth. If you get other injuries down the lineup, you can find ways. But certainly, you need some good luck with health with your best players if you're going to win 16 games over 2 months.
Mike Gillis, by the way, Thank Hockey Puck, I think was his name, that was texting us before, is or Funny Pod. Mike Gillis was the GM of Vancouver that was telling me that he couldn't go under 6-2 anymore. I don't want to keep you. I know, sorry to Mrs. Holland. We've been using her Instagram account, and I apologize for this. So, but thank you very much. No. Quick, I do have a question, because I've asked this to a couple of guys that are kind of done playing, one to a guy that is playing, and I want to ask a general manager and Prez of Hockey Ops and Hall of Famer and so on. What happens if a player doesn't want to play or is nervous about playing? It's a crazy world we all live in, and we don't know what to really say or what to do because we've never been in these times before. And I can go through I don't know how many years of adding up 22, 4, 5, 5, and they just of experience. We've never had this.
Yep.
How do we?
Well, I personally think that each player needs to make their own decision. I will support whatever decision they make. If they feel that whether it's their health or the health of their family or their parents or whatever, they don't want to take any chances. I totally respect. We're in an unknown right now.
Right.
Nobody really knows. You know, some people get the COVID and they barely know they're sick, and other people get the COVID and it's you know, obviously you look at the deaths that are out there, so you don't really know. So if somebody decides that they want to opt out, they're not comfortable. I would totally respect their decision and totally understand their decision, because we're in a real unknown here right now. We're obviously trying to all gather more information, and there's scientists trying to find vaccines and things, but right now we still don't know enough. Obviously, the hope is, the belief is, the plan is that we're going to get these 12 teams into an eastern city and a western city, and rumored to be Toronto and Edmonton, but get them into these hubs, get them into these bubbles, and you know, have as little contact with the outside as possible will give us the greatest chance to have a Stanley Cup champion at the end of September, early October.
Favorite restaurant on the league tour?
I'm an Italian food restaurant guy. I like Italian food, so I usually look for an Italian food, that or a sports bar with beer and chicken wings and hockey games on multiple screens. One of the two. So trying to think. I don't really have a favorite, but Italian. I always look for Italian.
So you got to obviously be excited that Edmonton is the hub city because it's known for its fine cuisine.
Totally. But we're going to be in the hub. We can't go anywhere. Hopefully they have good cuisine inside the hub and some Italian cuisine.
Listen, I want to actually thank your daughter Julie for kind of doing all the dirty work. We're FaceTiming behind all this, trying to set this up, and it's your first time on his Hall of Fame. Like, I wanted to get some dirt. Like, I always go and call a bunch of buddies and stuff, and I couldn't really get anything on you. So it's kind of like, congratulations.
Thanks to all my friends. I probably got some dirt, but I owe some people some dinners for staying quiet.
Hall of Fame hockey man, but more impressively, Hall of Fame hockey person. And that's what, from working on Hockey Night for a bunch of years, I worked with RDS, and from all the guys in the hockey circle that I try to get some dirt on you. Congrats for what you've accomplished. Congrats to your family. Thank you to Julie for all the teaching him what Instagram is. And I don't want to bring this up, but if I am in your Hall of Fame speech for teaching you about Instagram Live, it's okay. I don't have to bring it up, but it's okay. So
you've certainly taught me some new tricks here today on media and stuff. So
I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm here. I mean,
I enjoy. I love your passion. I love your passion. Followed you. Obviously, watched you on Hockey Night in Canada. I'm big on passion. You got a passion for the sport. That's the way you played the game, and you brought that same passion into covering the game, and you make it fun for fans. So thank you. Who's your favorite teammate? Who's your favorite teammate that you ever played with?
That's a good question. I don't have favorite teammates. I was on a team in Boston that was successful. You guys were number one. I think it was 2001. You guys were number one in the West in Detroit. We were number one in the East. We were kind of made to compete against you. Our fourth line was myself that can't cross over really. If the shooting and stick handling and skating weren't really, I would have been not bad.
Yeah.
And I had Rob Zamner and Marty McInnes, who were two very successful hockey players at the end of their careers playing on the fourth line. So we were to compete against you guys. In our heads, we lost in the first round. But I think when you're on a team that is successful, there's just more fun on things that aren't more fun in other moments. And congratulations to you to bringing that to Edmonton, because you don't only see it in the locker room, you see it in the town, you see it at the gas station, you see it in the supermarket, and that's why we love this game of hockey. It's like this heartbeat for Canadians, and thank you for leaving Detroit to come to a fine cuisine place like Edmonton to bring that hockey love and passion back and happiness. So thank you for your number
PJ.
one Insta Live, and hey, it doesn't have to be long in your speech. Just if you get pissed, I'll know it's for me.
One little sentence. One little sentence.
One little. Thank you very
PJ.
much. You're
Take
the
care.
best.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.